Welcome back. My name is Dan, and I love making everyday tech easy. I worked at Apple for 19 years, and now I'm in full-time ministry. WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference for Apple, just happened this week, and they announced a whole bunch of things. And I know if you're new to the channel, maybe you know of some of them, maybe you don't. But today I want to give you a very high-level overview of what the major drops that they announced, and I want to dive into one of the demos that they gave us that really highlight the iPad. I think it makes the iPad a brand new device. And let me tell you, I've been waiting for this update for a long, long time. It's like having a brand new iPad. So WWDC came out, and for those of you that don't know, it's an annual developers conference that Apple puts on every year for their developers so that they can start getting ahead of the fall launches when Apple fully releases their next operating system, maybe potentially some hardware. So we get a sneak peek at what Apple's been working on. This year's been, I think, one of the larger WWDCs in a while, and they changed a lot of things. The first thing that they changed is the naming of all of our devices, right? The operating system. You have iPhone or you have iOS now named iOS 26. You're going to have iPadOS 26, tvOS 26, and so on and so forth. Before, some of them had different names, especially Apple Watch. WatchOS was like a way smaller number because obviously Watch came out way later. But now this naming glacier cleans up the whole spectrum for all of the Apple platforms. But the biggest news, besides naming changing and some of the appearances, very glass-like now effect. We'll do another deep dive on that. But really, their iPad OS makes your iPad completely different. It's a brand new iPad. This is an update that I've been waiting for many, many years. So I've downloaded the developers version here on iPad. And of course, do I recommend you downloading the developers version right now? Probably don't, unless you are a developer. It's typically very buggy, especially the very first couple of versions. So the first thing that you may notice is that now we have a different lock screen. You can kind of start to see the translucent effect of the glass effect that Apple is launching across all of their OSs. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock my iPad. And here's what I want to show you. iPad has always been that intermediate device. Does it replace your laptop? Maybe, but in many cases it can't. Does it replace a desktop? No. Does it replace your phone? No. It kind of lived in the middle. And then depending on which iPad you had, different versions. Like I have the iPad mini, which I absolutely love this thing. I use this when I teach at church. I love my iPad Pro. I still have the M1 version of the iPad Pro 12.9. I love this. It's is running like a champ. But different sizes, different use cases. But the update on iPad OS really makes this, I don't want to say a game changer because we use that word often, but it's a game changer. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and just open, in this case, just Notes. And when I open up Notes, typically Notes will just go ahead and open in full screen, right? So I'm just going to kind of close that just so you can see it. I would open up Notes and it would open up in full screen. Now we've had other ways to bring in a secondary application. It used to be called Slide Over, where I can now open up, let's say, calendar, or let's just say reminders here. I used to be able to open this up and I would be able to slide it over to one of the corners. That's all changed because now we can layer pretty much lots of windows on top of each other. So let me take a step back here. I'm going to go ahead and close my reminder. So again, here I am in Notes, one app. If I'm done with it, I swipe up, everything, nothing has changed. Now, if I go back to Notes, you'll notice at the bottom right-hand corner of that window, there's a little nub. Let's just call it the nub. And if I just drag my finger across, I'll put this in a window mode. And now if I just drag on the very top of the screen, I can move that around. Because I am using an iPad Pro, I also have a trackpad. You will also notice that they changed the cursor to include an actual pointer. I know that sounds kind of silly. Before the iPad would have a round circular cursor because it really was meant to emulate the touch of a index finger. Now, the one thing that I want to show you here in this Note application, So I can now resize this window to pretty much any size I want. I don't have to grab the bottom right. I can grab the bottom left and I can move that around. But if you notice at the way the top left-hand corner, we now have the traffic lights, the red, the yellow, and green, much like on a Mac. Now, if I tap there, you see that they become bigger and I can truly expand that application. If I go back to that same spot, or if I just put my window down, I can truly minimize that application. I can bring it back. It'll retain the same size, or I can simply close that application. Now, let me just pause, especially if you're watching this and maybe you're brand new to Apple, or B, you don't have an iPad, or maybe you're not even on the Mac platform. All these things sound logical because they should have been, but the iPad OS and the Mac OS, there was definitely a distance between the two. There was a lot of compatibility, but they were definitely two different operating systems. And we are now seeing with this update the lines merging much, much closer, which is a phenomenal thing. Many people have been wanting this. So the first new thing that I love about the iPad OS is the fact that they give us more Mac-like control. Now, because I have made this application slightly smaller, I can now bring a second application. I'll go ahead and bring up reminders. So here's reminders and the same thing. I can drag that by the bottom corner. I can relocate that wherever I kind of choose and please. Now, if I tap and hold the traffic light, the red, yellow, and the green, you'll notice that I also get by default some additional sizing of my windows. I can place this over on my left. If I tap there, I can place it over on the right. I can place it in a full screen mode and so on and so forth. Or I can just kind of keep it as a floating window, and then I can manually adjust these windows as I choose and please. And I gotta be honest, I love this feature because on my Mac, I typically run one screen where I have all of my communications. I have my calendar, my messages, I have my email really, really large. I have my Slack or my Monday.com application, maybe a reminders. I have kind of like this dashboard control mission control center, right? It's like my whole world around me, and that lives on one window. And then of course on my Mac, I just swipe across my trackpad and I have a brand new clean desktop. Some of that is coming into iPad. So now I can have multiple windows. I can resize these, reshape these. I can open up some more. So I'll go ahead and open up, let's say my shortcuts window. I'll go ahead and make this a little bit smaller just so you can kind of see. This is a little buggy still, and this is a perfect example how beta versions are always a little rough. I can open up yet another one. Let's open up, let's say system settings, something that you probably dive into there often. So as you can see, we have multiple windows open and I can be running on any single one. If I click on calendar, it'll bring it to the front. If I click on my notes, it'll bring it to the front, so on and so forth. If you do have a keyboard attached to your iPad, you can always do the Command Tab, and you can Command Tab through these applications like you could before. Very, very powerful. Now, one of the things that I like is if I tap and hold where it says the red, yellow, green, you remember how it gives me different size windows? There's one called the four grid, and it'll automatically give me a four gridded window. I love this. Now, one of the improvements here, before we had slide over where we kind of just slide in an application about the size of an iPhone and slide it on back. If you look closely, if you look there on the screen, between the top two windows and the bottom two, there's a little bit of a grab handle, and that is an adjustable resizer window where I can just really resize these two windows however big I want. I can customize this however I want. That's very, very cool. Do you start to see how the iPad is becoming more Mac-like? Now, listen, I can already read the comments. If you're not an iPad or maybe you're not on the iOS platform, you're saying like, what? Like it's 2025. Like you guys should have had this a long time ago. And I fully agree. But knowing Apple, Apple doesn't typically release features until they're rock solid. And I gotta tell you, for it being a version 1 beta, it's not bad at all. Now, one of the awesome things I love about being able to customize my window and my desktop is if I do need to get to my desktop of the iPad and I am running a keyboard that has a trackpad, I'm going to go ahead and three finger swipe up just like I would on a Mac. And when I do that, it kind of just brushes everybody away and it gives me a sneak peek right back at my iPad desktop. And if you look, the four windows are still. I can maybe open up an application, get information, and once I'm done, just basically click anywhere back on the screen and my apps come back to where they were. Now, the other cool thing is I can always swipe up three times, kind of get that away. But if I wanted to three finger swipe up again, it's going to go ahead and close all those applications. So as you see, it closed all the applications and brought me back to my main page where I have some of my favorite widgets. Pretty cool. Hey, have you learned anything so far on this on the review? If you have, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. The community continues to grow, and I so appreciate each and every one of you. But definitely drop a comment if you like that new feature within iPad. Let me show you another cool feature. I'm gonna go ahead and open up Notes, and this time around, I'm just gonna open it up by itself. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll leave it like that. I'll go ahead and open up my reminders on top of that and adjust it in a different way. And maybe I'll go ahead and open up, I'll swipe over here and I'll open up um, Monday.com, right? So now I have many applications open in different environments. Monday is full screen while the other two or three, I can't remember now, are windowed. I showed you a three finger swipe will kind of get rid of that application, or if I am running the other ones, if I do a three finger swipe, it'll give me my desktop back. So now the cool thing, I showed you if I do a three finger swipe, it'll kind of show me my desktop, it'll kind of get everything back out, or it'll go ahead and close the application. But if I do a three finger swipe up and hold, I have to be in an app, so I'm gonna go ahead and just open up Monday.com. If I do a three finger swipe up and hold, it now gives me this expose view that will definitely show me all my applications, and I can swipe around here and I can, quickly go back to one of my previously opened windows. This is very Mac-like. This is like seeing all your different screens that you have on your Mac. This is very cool. So these are some of the features that I absolutely love that are coming to iPad OS 26, and there are many more. Aside from it being a visual update, probably the biggest one that they've done since 2007, there's much more that you can do. And I'm going to dive into all of them as the days and the weeks come ahead. But here, I want to hear from you. So if there's a specific feature that you would love to see that maybe you got the glimpse of, drop it in the comments below. And I got to be honest, I know that for me, while I was at Apple, working at Apple corporate, all the WWDCs were like a big thing. I remember watching them, kind of like taking down notes. But now that I'm outside of Apple, I know that many people are not aware of WWDC. They don't have no clue that Apple's doing all these updates here in the public. So I definitely want to show you as much as I can. If you have any questions, you can always jump on Apple's website, www.apple.com. They also have some amazing videos there. But I hope you found this video useful and helpful. Hey, if you're new to the channel, check out some of my videos. I have tips for iPhone, tips for productivity. I would love to hear your feedback. Until next time, catch you soon. Peace.